Hello, this is Jason Ropeman with Primitive Life Training, and I'm doing a video on how to get your arrow shafts from beginning to end. Here's one I've already cut. You can see this is basically straight. I'll have a little bit of straightening to do on the end, but basically it's straight. And what we're looking for is any kind of bush that's like this right here. I'm not sure what this is. I can go look it up right quick, and I'll probably put it in a audio commentary on here. But anyway, this little stick that I'm going to turn into an arrow came off of a tree like this, which I believe is a sweet gum. Without the leaves on it and it being this small, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's poplar or anything like that. It's, you can see poplar would have a bigger, peatier core, so I'm not sure what a lot of these are actually called. I've looked them up, but I forget their names, but I just call them arrow bushes. That's what my granddaddy called them. I know that's probably not the right name for it, but that's what I call them. And so right now I'm walking cut over on this side, woods on this side. You see a lot of places like that here in Mississippi. These shoots though, off of the tops of these trees, there's another one, but it's kind of big and crooked. The one beside it's definitely too crooked. A lot of the tip tops of them will be straight enough, some of them won't be. I've got to go around this way for a minute. Got a lot of thick stuff that I don't got time to go through right there. Kind of swap up my trails for just a minute. And there's a couple of little bushes in here that's got good shafts on. I've got them off of them before. This is one of them right here. A lot of the good straight shafts haven't grown back yet. I see one in there. No, it's split. A lot of them are dead on this one. A lot of them are growing back from when I cut them year before last. I want to get 5 or 6 good arrows, and then I'm gonna pull me an old cedar tree out of here that's been cut and laid across a couple of trees before it rots. I'm gonna get some sections out of that to make a flute and some stuff like that with to sell and whatnot. If I can find a good piece that's still good, I may get enough of it to make a whole bunch of arrows and make a video about how to split your arrows out of cedar trunks. I'm gonna take a pause for a minute though while I look for some more bushes to get some shafts on. Okay, so I found another one here. This little branch right here. All the way down, it's right there. I actually probably don't need but about half of this, so hang on just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and get it all the way off. Get it as long as possible. You can always take off, but it's hard to put back on, so I always cut mine 1 inch or 2 long if I can. Sometimes you can't, but this is the little bush I'm getting it off of. Maybe I'll go and look it up and see right quick. Okay, so it's a garden thymerius or something like that. I'm not good with the scientific names. That's why I just call it an Arab bush, because I get these good arrow shafts off of it. And you can see that one right there growing out from it and coming up. It'll be a good one years to come. I like to get them a little, about 1/2 inch, because I'm going to get it down to 1/4 inch and straighten it from there. So anyway, I'm going to get off here and I'll get with the rest of the video in a minute. Alright, so I went and collected a few more limbs and everything, and another one I was going to show you, let me turn the camera, is these here, these black cherry or wild cherry limbs. They are really good for arrow shafts. Now I know it looks like that one's crooked, but I'm gonna cut her off right about there where that bend starts, and then back here somewhere I'm gonna cut a lot of this off. So I cut them longer than what I need them to be, and then I take the straightest part out of it, and that usually helps to cut down on so much bending at the end. But let's go to this right quick. Once you've collected your shafts, the next thing you're gonna do is you're going to scrape all the bark off of them. And when you do this, you don't want to cut into the wood, so you're not whittling the bark off, you are scraping it off. And I'm going to try to attempt to show you how to do this while recording. And so let me get this phone in my hands just right. Now these little limbs and stuff here, yeah, you'll want to kind of just, you know, shave them off with the edge of your knife, and just kind of, you know, just like you are whittling. But I'm not cutting into the limb, I'm not cutting the bark off of it and all that. So this is kind of hard for me to do and keep this straight, so we're just gonna run down through there, and I'm just gonna cut a few of them off for right now so that I can show you how to scrape it. You're gonna hold, just like you're gonna cut this limb like this right here, you're gonna hold your knife like that, and you're gonna just scrape all this bark off of it. And you want to get it all the way down past the inner bark. That green bark you see coming up, that's your inner bark. You want to do this while it's green. You don't want to leave the bark on during the drying process. It will rot the wood. It allows it to hold moisture for too long, and winds up rotting your shaft out. But basically, we're just gonna scrape all this off, just like if we were scraping a piece of fat wood for some fat wood dust. 90-degree angle to your arrow shaft, and just go deep enough to get that inner bark off. You don't want to go any deeper than just enough to get your inner bark off. Now, if you're doing this primitively, you can have a stone or whatever. But basically, this is the results you're looking for. Is all your shafts to have all the bark off of them. Now, give me just a minute. I'm going to clean these two shafts up. I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so once you've got all your bark off of your arrow shafts, the next thing you want to do is square up your ends. Both ends of it need to be squared up like that, or squared off, cut off, and do that on all of them. And then you want to take them inside and put some wood glue. And so I'm going to pause the video for a minute and run inside and show you the next two steps. Okay, so next step is, like I said, you want to square off all your ends. This one, I had a catastrophe happen, and it kind of got cut off like just short enough for me to, get a full draw on it. And so I can't lose any more out of this one. And the rest of these, I'm going to end up cutting some off. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to get all the ends together, and I'm going to just put a little dab of glue on the end of them. It can be hide glue if you want to. If you want to do everything completely all natural. Wood glue will work if you don't have any hide to make hide glue out of. But just, you want to glue these ends up to keep them from cracking. And that's what this wood glue or hide glue or even some pine pitch will do. Is just basically keep these ends from cracking and your shaft being weakened from that. You get a split in an arrow shaft that far, and you don't no longer have any arrow shaft to make an arrow out of. Just like with this short one here. If I don't glue these ends up and get them all where they won't split, that's exactly what's going to happen, and I'll lose that shaft. So again, just dab you a little wood glue on the end of them, enough to really coat that in good. You want to make sure you get all of it all the way around it. If not, like I said, you'll wind up with a split. And some of these little knots and stuff, when you're getting to the finishing stage, you'll have to throw a little wood glue in there and let them kind of fill up, and then sand them down during the sanding process. Now, these shafts will have to be seasoned for a whole year at least. So I'll get to work on these next year. I've got a few here One of them's an arrow shaft that I just real quickly made an arrow out of to show y'all how to make an arrow. I didn't really go through extensively making that arrow shaft, you know, straight like that. I just basically got it straight and showed y'all how to make an arrow. Now I'm actually going to show you how, I'm showing you how to harvest the shafts, how to prepare them and everything. Because the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to get them in just as tight of a bundle as we can, and you can use cordage or whatever. I'm just doing this for a fast process. And this tape I can actually kind of wrench down once I get it wrapped around once or twice. I can really tighten down with that tape. And you want to make sure when you do it that your shafts aren't twisted. They're going to all pop up like that right there because you got bends in them and stuff. But you want to make sure that, you know, your shaft is running this way the whole way down this bundle. You don't want it to start doing this. If it does that, you will not have a good arrow shaft 1 in there. You want to make sure that your bundle is tight, because you don't want any movement. You don't want your shafts to bend any or anything. You want them to dry as straight as possible. That makes the bending process a whole lot easier. And so I will get these all in line and straight as possible, and then I'm gonna, either with some electrical tape like this where you can really get it tight, you are still gonna have some bends in them. You're gonna have to straighten them out later, but this will help to a certain extent that process of straightening these arrows out. Well, about caught myself in the face that time. And you're just going to tape it a few times down through there, making sure that each arrow shaft is in line with the end of it down here. And you're just going to make sure that that bundle is tight as it can be. Whether you're using string or paracord or whatever, you want this sucker tight. You don't want any movement when you bounce it like that. If you hear it, you know, one of these shafts is rattling around moving, tighten it up tighter. Anywhere where there's a significant bend in a limb, you want to tighten it down right there, because that's going to pull it tight to the other shafts. And what I'm talking about is like right here, there was a significant bend in that. I took a lot of that bend out by tightening it down. Now, this will be put up for 1 year. There's 2, 4, 6 arrows here, half a dozen. And these will be put up for at least a year. I like to hang mine, let them dry like this. Helps with the laying them down or standing them up against something like that. Gravity will pull and you'll bend the whole entire bundle. However, if you just tie them up, hang them on something like this, as they dry, gravity's pulling straight down, and so you don't get any bend. And when these dry, you got a little bit of bending to do, but not as much. So I got some hangers around here somewhere. maybe outside, but I'm gonna hook a little hook right there and hang them. But for right now, I'm just gonna hang them over here and show y'all this little tool that really helps to straighten out your arrow shafts, if I can find it, if my cat hasn't gotten it and played with it. It was right here last night, so there it is. There it is. Alright, so now we're going to pretend like this is a year later and here's one of my arrow shafts. And I got a couple more here. This one here is a little straighter, so you can see I've already used it. And you can see the bend that's in it from here to here. Now I can take that bend out, but if you look here, I've got a small bend from here to here. This little tool makes taking the bend out of these extremely easy. And what it is, it's just a little piece of a deer antler, but I've got a hole that's a little bit bigger than my arrow shafts, but not as big as, I can't get my whole finger through there. I might get my pinky through it a little bit, not even get my whole pinky through it. But you go at an angle. See how this is at an angle? You don't want to go straight through like that. And you can tell it come out on the other side. That's so that you, when you slip your arrow in there and you get to the part where the bend's at, which is going to be right here, inside here, and then when it's heated, you can take that and bend that like that and hold it a lot easier than having to sit there, you know, put your thumbs on a hot piece of wood, which it doesn't really get that hot. I do it like this a lot. And you know, this kind of makes it a little bit easier. You can be a little bit more precise with where you go for your bend, how you hold it, everything. And that just kind of helps it to, you know, straighten that out a little bit. Now, the next thing that you're going to do, and I'll have to get it rigged up here and get you figured out how we're going to set the camera up. But you've already got it debarked. You've already got it squared off. This is just a shaft that I'm refurbishing right here for the purpose of doing the video. Now, I've got it down to basically the size that I want. This is the diameter of the arrow I want to keep. And I want that to be all the way down. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. There's a little jig you can make using old jigsaw blades and a block of wood. And I am going to make one of those just for the simple fact of I'm getting old and I need to do things a little bit faster sometime, you know. I don't necessarily have to do all steps of it primitively because I've done it so much. And if I need to get some arrow shafts done real quick, you know, I use a couple of steps maybe that are a little bit more modern. You want to fold your sandpaper to the inside, and you basically want to get your arrow shaft in there and, you know, get it where it's going to go. And then I put it in a vise. And I'll take that shaft and I will move that sandpaper until that end of that shaft that I'm wanting to start out on sanding just fits in there real good. And then I'm just gonna, let me show you what I got here. Let me turn around. See how I've got it in the vise, and I'm just sanding that shaft. Now, yes, you can do this and the next step interchangeably. Some people like to straighten their shafts and then sand them. I really and truthfully don't care which one I do first. Both of them's got to be done, and I find it a little bit easier to straighten the shafts once you've sanded them a little bit and got a lot of that thicker wood off. Now, it'll take you a little while with each shaft doing it this way, and you'll have to readjust your sandpaper in your vise to where it gets a little tighter as you start to take wood up this shaft to the thicker end. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is heat treating, or not heat treating, my bad, heat bending. Let me turn my back around. Heat bending. For right now, I'm going to simulate a fire, doing it primitively with a fire, with doing it with this. And yes, I'm going to smoke me a cigarette. I know a lot of people don't like it that I smoke, but to each his own. All my ancestors smoked. Now, what I want to do first is, you see this big bend in it right here. I'm just going to go ahead and heat that up. I'm not burning the wood, just heating it up, just letting the heat get to it, just like I would if it was a fire I was doing this on. Moving the shaft and turning it. Depending on which technique I'm using, decides on whether or not I do this bend before or after I sand it. If I got a lot of bends and I've got to do a lot of heat treating, I'll do my bending before. When you make this bend, you want to hold it. You're going to have another one right here that you got to do, but you want to let this one cool off. If you don't, it's just going to go right back to the same shape it was, but you want to hold it in a position to where it straightens that arrow shaft out, makes it straight. You still got a bend down here that we got to do. Doing this helps to cool it off a little bit. And as you see, that got a lot of that bend out. Now we're going to do this bend. I'm not going to hold the torch, I'm just going to heat my shaft up. And I'm going to show you how to use this. I'm going to run this through here. When I get to that spot where I want to bend, I'm just going to bend it and hold it. Just like we did before. Accidentally got the shaft a little closer. It's alright though, because I still got to sand that, so it'll take a lot of that off. Just a little too windy for a fire today outside. It's the only reason I'm doing it like this. You can see that has straightened it out significantly. Still a little bit of a bend right there. My wood's still a little warm, so I'm going to hold it. I'm going to force my bend right here a little bit. Sanding will straighten the rest of that out, so I'm just going to try to pull my shaft off without making it bend or anything. Got a bend right here we got to take care of. And finally we got to go back to this bend while it's still just a hair warm. Go in the opposite direction. Now then we got a bend. Still got a slight bend right here. Like I said, doing it like this helps it cool off because you're moving it through the air. Sometimes you can use this little tool, sometimes doing it like this is a little bit better. The more we do this, the straighter it's getting. Now keep in mind that the Native American Indians did not have perfectly straight arrows. They weren't just all crooked either, but they were not perfectly straight. They also were not perfectly symmetrical. Sanding should take the rest of that out. Still just a little bit of a bend right here. I may have to sand it a little bit because it's right on a knot in order to get it completely out, but we're going to get it basically straight. And then we will go into the sanding process. And then once we're done, we'll do our final bit of bending. Now, over time, if you don't keep these arrows in an upright position in your quiver or whatever, even then, over time, they will go back to their natural shape, and you will have to refurbish them and rebend them and reheat them and get them straight again. That's natural arrow shafts for you. It's gonna happen. But you see that we've basically got this arrow shaft straight. And then we're going to go back to the sanding process over here. Just slide your shaft in that sandpaper and start sanding. And that's going to take out a lot of your thickness. That's where your limb's thicker in some areas and not as thick in other areas. It's going to get your whole entire shaft all down to one thickness. It will also help take out those little slight bends that are caused by your knobs and stuff. Where your tree limbs your little limbs was growing out of this limb. Each one of these little places right here, where you had a little limb, a little twig sticking out, got a little natural knot right there. Those force natural bends into this arrow shaft. As you can see, we're basically straight. Got a little bit of bending to do. This arrow, just like it is, will fly. I'm not going to get a 60, 70 yard good shot out of it, but a 25 yard shot, I'm going to hit my target with it. So, I mean, this could be a good survival shaft as it is. Put you some fletchings on it, get you a knot cut into it, get you a point put on it, and you're ready to go. Now, once you get your sanding done, what you're going to have is an arrow shaft like this. I do already have a metal point hafted into it. I'm just making this arrow for squirrel and rabbit hunting, so. But you will wind up with a very nice looking straight, smooth, all one diameter all the way up and down it, same diameter, straight arrow shaft. And then you will be ready to put your fletchings on. And that will be basically the conclusion to this video. you can go and watch the other video that I have on how to make a Eastern Woodland Indian arrow. Basically, this was the arrow that I used in the video. As you can see, it has went back right in here, and it has retained its old shape. These arrow shafts are not the size that I normally shoot with. This is, and you can see the difference. This one's just a little bit smaller in diameter, about the size of a regular carbon arrow shaft. That's the ones that I use to actually hunt with. This right here was just using this basically half finished arrow shaft to show you how to knock the point on it, and to show you how to, you know, tie your fletchings on, and how to cut the knock out and make it fit your string and pop it on and off the string like you would, you know, a normal knock on an arrow, and it's basically shaped the same. But I would not hunt with this arrow because it's way too thick for what I want to use it for. Slows down the flight. Thicker arrow shafts tend to not be able to retain their shape as well for some reason. The thinner ones seem to want to retain their shape, their, you know, straightness longer. I also, like I said, I just basically finished this arrow shaft. It wasn't, you know, it was shootable. I shot it after I made it, you know, in the video, but I didn't do it as if I was going to put that arrow shaft in my quiver. But the way I showed everybody on the video, you know, you had your prepared arrow shaft, and I said that in the video that, you know, you'd have to go and do a lot of heat bending and sanding and getting your arrow shaft all the same diameter and everything. So I made everybody aware of it. I didn't try to fake off anybody or anything, but over time, this is about 2 years ago that I made this video, and over 2 years, this thing has, right here at a little knot, has started to curve back to that natural shape. So they will, you know, over time, is go back to having that bent shape. And you, especially after you've shot them 2 or 3 times, you'll have to go back and kind of re-straighten your shafts and everything. So that's just the thing with natural arrow shafts. I mean, it's gonna happen. So, but there you go. Nice little video. I hope that you like it. I got another couple of videos that I got in mind. One of the next things that I'm going to work on is doing a self bow from just a sapling. It's going to take me a little while to do that, but that's one of the things I'm going to be working on. I'm also going to be working on a shelter video, trying to do some things different than what I've done in the past. It's just hard for me to get out and do some things sometimes. Weather don't permit, family don't permit sometimes. So, you know, just bear with me. I've got some things in the work. I'm taking a break from doing all the things that I was doing, trying to learn some different skills in order to get back on this and get some more newer and more interesting videos for y'all. So I hope you like this video. Like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Check out our website at www.primitivelifetrainingandgear.com. Look us up on Facebook. Primitive Life Training, Training with Nature's Provisions is the group, and then we have the page, Primitive Life Training page, and we have a Primitive Life gear page, and a couple of more groups. We have a bartering group and a buy, sell, and trade group also. But check us out on Facebook and everything. Like and subscribe, and I'll be working on some more videos for y'all. This is Jason Roten with Primitive Life Training. Hope you enjoy.